They were wrong. They told me that I could never leave my country because I was an ex-con. If I were to listen to other people,
oh, you can't leave because you're an ex-convict. You got a violent felon. Oh, you can't leave America because once you get to these other countries, they're not going to let you in. Oh, these other countries do background checks and they're not going to let you in because you have a violent felony.
if I were to listen to them, I'd still be stuck in America right now. You know what I'm saying? But I did the due diligence and I found out myself. As an ex-con, where can I go? Where can I go? What can I do? What can I do? So in this video, I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna let you know from my experience as an ex-con in America, where can we go? What can we do? So stay tuned. Let's get it. So what is your first move to leaving the country? Getting a passport. You ain't gonna go nowhere without a passport. And guess what? People say, oh, can I even get a passport as an ex-convict? For sure, you can get a passport as long as you don't have probation, as long as you're not on parole, as long as you don't have any holds from the court, as long as you don't owe like outstanding child support or some stuff like that. Guess what? You can get a passport. And it's very easy, bro. So how do you get your passport? It's very easy. All you gotta do is go to the post office website, make an appointment, go into the post office, give them whatever you need, photos or fill out whatever forms, and voila, you got your passport. You might have to wait a month or two, or you could pay like $100 to $200 and get your passport expedited. Whatever you want to do, you can get your passport like that, and they don't ask you. There's no questions on, have you ever been convicted? Have you ever been to prison? Do you have any felonies? None of that. They don't ask none of that. Everybody can get a passport. And once you get your passport, that's your first stamp to moving forward with your life. Getting past being an ex-con stuck in America. You could travel the world like me. You could see different things, explore different things, and expand your mindset. A question that people always ask me is, Mac, how can you get into these countries as an ex-con? Won't they just turn you around once they find out that you're an ex-convict? And I'm here to tell you that many of these countries actually don't even ask. So what countries can an ex-con from America not go to? We got 5 countries and they call this the 5 Eyes. And that's Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, coming number 5, Japan. Now, I know for a fact that Canada is very strict on who they let in. They actually share a database and they go through that database every time an American goes into Canada. Super strict. Like, they don't care what you're doing in Canada, they're gonna press you about it. And if you're an ex-con, unless you have really good reasoning, unless you have like a lawyer or somebody to really pull the strings for you, chances are you're not getting into Canada. And don't try to go on the border and lie and say you've never been convicted, because guess what? They share database. And all these other countries, the 5 Eyes, also share database. One country, Japan, they share database, but they don't always check it. You know what I'm saying? So you might be able to finagle that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't suggest you try, because you might get there and just be stuck and waste a plane ticket for nothing. But for sure, I know ex-convicts that have been to Japan. Facts. And they just lie and they got through. I wouldn't tell you to try it or not, but I'll tell you this. You will be gambling. Other countries that just don't give a fuck, right? You got Vietnam. Vietnam don't give a fuck. They ain't asked me nothing. And then you would think that Vietnam would be very strict because it's a communist country, and they'll be strict on who they let in. But guess what? They don't give a fuck. I've been in and out this country 100 times, and they welcome me with open arms every time. So shout out to Vietnam. Another country, Thailand. Thailand don't give a fuck either, bro. As long as you bring in that American dollar and you spending that money, we don't care. We don't care what you did. You know what I'm saying? We don't care if you did 10, 20 years, whatever. You did that back then in that country. You got a clean slate over here. Other countries is Cambodia, Mexico, Brazil, Turkey. Those countries, they don't care. Come in. Another country that you might thought is really strict, but really isn't in terms of ex-con, is China. Yeah, China. You would think China would be super strict and letting ex-cons in their country, but guess what? I've been to China and they ain't asked me nothing. Like, they ain't asked me shit. They ain't asked me nothing. So I ain't tell them nothing either, you heard? Now, when you come to these countries, just because you get in the country doesn't mean you get to do the same things that you did in America. If you get arrested for, let's say, an ounce of weed, in America, it's a slap on the wrist. If you get caught with an ounce of weed in some of these countries, it could be a death sentence. Countries like Indonesia, countries like Malaysia, countries like Singapore, countries like China, things that would lead to little slaps on the wrist in America could be a really big deal. Now, when you go to these other countries, if you get arrested, let's say you get into a fight. Let's say something happens and somebody calls the cops on you. You get arrested. It's not the same as America. You're not going to get a legal aid. You're probably just going to get thrown in jail. Just the process of the things are going to be completely different than what you're used to in America. So when you get to these countries, I would say be very careful. Don't do things that you know you're not supposed to be doing. If you have an anger issue, you should definitely curb your anger. Now, what I do notice when I go to these countries is, let's say you get into a fight with another foreigner. Chances are the cops won't really care. If the other foreigner isn't making a big deal about it, the other foreigner isn't rich, then chances are nothing's gonna happen. But let's say you get into a fight with a local. Let's say you're in Thailand, you get into a fight with a Thai person. You're in Vietnam, you get into a fight with a Vietnamese person. Oh, the cops are gonna treat that totally different, right? You're gonna be treated much more severe. So when you go to these countries, I would say be very careful and curb your want to argue and fight with the locals. Now, certain countries, let's say Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, and certain countries like that, if you're doing little things, let's say you're smoking weed, let's say you're driving and you're not supposed to be driving. Even some instances in Cambodia, I seen somebody driving drunk and they hit somebody, and which would be a big deal in America. But if they had some cash in their pocket, let's say they had 500 US, that could buy them out of the whole situation, right? So if you are partaking in drugs, if you're doing certain things like that, then I would say keep some cash on you just in case, because cash in many of these countries can get you out. Now, let's say the other day I was in a club in Vietnam, and you know Vietnam is a communist country. No drugs at all, no weed. Now, can you find weed out here? I'm sure you can, but they're pretty harsh on that too, you know? So I was in the club, and the police came in the club, stopped the music, stopped everything, and drug test everybody in the club. And now, if you're in the club and you get drug tests and they find you dirty, then they're gonna take you to jail. But if you got some cash on you, I ain't gonna say it, but you know? No, the process of when you get arrested, there's no phone calls. They're not going to give you a phone call. They're not going to give you a visit. They're not going to give you certain things when you get arrested in America they would make sure you get, you know? It's a whole different ball game. So I would say don't get arrested when you go to these places. Try to walk a straight, narrow thing. You're out of prison in the US. Don't go to another country and go to prison. It's not cute. All right, let's talk about visas. Many of these countries require you to have a visa when you entering the country. From my experience, it's not that hard to get a visa. Like Vietnam was kind of the harder ones to get a visa, and it really wasn't that hard. All you gotta do is just go onto the website, the Vietnam government website, and apply for it. They're gonna charge you a couple dollars, and they'll send you an email within a day or so with your visa. Now, sometimes these visas will ask you if you were ever convicted of a crime. I know some people that lied on some of these country visas and said that they never had a conviction when they did. And to be honest, they didn't get caught for it, right? But that doesn't mean that you should do the same. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that if they find out that you lied, they could kick you out and ban you out of the country forever. So let's say you're here, let's say I'm in this country and I have an apartment, I have a studio, I got a dog, I got this, I got that, I got all these things going on. And let's say the country wants to do a little research on me because for whatever reason, and they find that I lied on my visa, boom, I'm out of here. They'll pick me up. I'll just have to leave, and I'll have to leave everything here. They're not gonna let me get my dog. They're not gonna let me get nothing, and everything is just gonna have to be just kept here. So I would be very careful on lying on your visa. You know, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that you would get caught. I'm just saying if you do get caught, they will kick you out the country and they will ban you. So keep that in mind, fellas. All right, so I hope this video was able to give you some information. And most importantly, if you was thinking about leaving the country and you just felt scared that maybe something could happen, maybe because you're an ex-convict, you won't be able to travel, I hope this video gave you some clarity and gave you some push and gave you some inspiration to want to try something else. It's a beautiful world out there, y'all. The world is much bigger than America. And I suggest that since we was locked down so long, go explore, go travel, go meet some different people, go eat some different foods, go learn a different language, go learn different cultures. And you never know, this might change your life. So don't listen to what anybody say. Take it from me. As an ex-convict myself, I've traveled to like about 10, 15 different countries already. We're not stuck. We're not bound to America. Just because you got arrested, just because you got convicted, it doesn't mean your life has to stop there. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in America. You can still travel. Do your research, find places that you want to go to, and see if the country allows ex-convicts, and go out there. Check it out. All right, with that being said, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and most importantly, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of your family. It's a crazy world out there. So make sure that you're taking care of everything you need to be taken care of. And I will take care of myself. And I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.